Advocates from many different advocacy groups that have been working tirelessly to try and get medicine to sick and dying people of Pennsylvania. I stood at the Easter tender on April 20th of this year and held a press conference and walked around and handed out packets to every House representative. June 1st, we held a press conference in support of Senate Bill 3 coming out of the Senate. On July 1st, we held a press conference after it was finally moved out of one committee into another. We believe that the legislators are working their hardest to make a bill that is the best bill it can be. But again, we are still waiting. On July 1st, I heard by the end of the summer, and we were assured we wouldn't have to wait till fall. Fall came and went, and winter is almost here, and we are still waiting. While you're sitting at your tables for the holidays, I want you to seriously consider two things. One, we have patients and children dying every day in Pennsylvania that could have been saved. We've lost 3 epileptic children, 2 leukemia patients, and a breast cancer patient, a heart patient, and several more. 2, we have the opportunity to write a great bill that helps patients, create jobs, and alleviate some of the budget issues that we are currently facing and fighting today. With our limited condition list and a small surcharge on the Senate Appropriations Committee added to Senate Bill 3, there would be about $70 million that would be generated through medical card fees, license fees, and surcharge collections. Why are we fighting over cannabis, and why are we still fighting a budget when we could use these taxes for certain areas that we are already lacking in? We can help the economy, and we can help patients. We must put people ahead of profits. It's about our sick today, not about the money. So let's give a few advocates a chance to tell their story. Our first speaker is an advocate, but more importantly, she's a mom who has a child who is suffering. Let me introduce to you Ms. Louise Sherman.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Louise Sherman, and I'm from Bucks County, Pennsylvania. I always begin talking, and I always tell everyone that I am just a mom. But I come here today and I say that actually I am more than just a mom, and we are all more than mothers and fathers and brothers and sisters. And in fact, we are more than Pennsylvania citizens. We are Americans. And we have been given a sacred birthright as Americans called the Constitution of the United States. We have been promised in our Constitution the right to live, the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Every one of our judges and our senators and our representatives take an oath to uphold these sacred rights and the Constitution of the United States. Our federal government is lagging behind with cannabis laws, and in many cases violating our rights and the state rights. But that does not give our representatives here in Pennsylvania the go-ahead to refuse to look at science and facts while our loved ones have to choose between a decent quality of life or a prison sentence, and in some cases, death. All of us standing here have heard presidents in the past and politicians promise to us, no child shall be left behind. In the military, they boast, leave no man behind. And we hear on social media and on TV that Black lives matter. We hear all lives matter. We hear police lives matter. Well, I say to our House of Representatives that patient lives matter. Those with cancer and epilepsy and PSTD and rare diseases and chronic pain or MS, autism, Lyme's disease, mental illness, those with addiction, those struggling with any illness, those struggling every day to have some kind of quality of life. Your lives matter. Patient lives matter. And we come here today to say, leave no patient behind. Pennsylvania citizens deserve legislation that gives all patients safe and legal access to cannabis. Pennsylvania citizens deserve legislators that uphold their oath of office and preserve our constitutional right to live and the liberty to pursue a better quality of life. All patients that need this medicine are sick and tired of being lied to. The people of Pennsylvania, and in fact all Americans, are well aware that we have been lied to for The American people know that our suffering and death has been neatly packaged up and sold off onto Wall Street. We know that our death, disease, and illness has been profited off of while we are left holding medical debt that bankrupts us and steals our very lives. The truth can no longer be suppressed. Cannabis is medicine, and cannabis has always been medicine. I stood here on September 22nd and I implored those that were stalling this important legislation, don't force us to add another name to the list of loved ones that we have lost. And they failed to protect our most fragile Pennsylvania citizens. I have this message to the House of Representatives, that when you sit at your tables with your families for Thanksgiving, I want you to know that there are many families whose loved ones are not there, who will never be there for a Thanksgiving dinner. I want you to look at your grandchildren, your daughters, your sons, wives, and family members. I ask that you set an empty chair at your table and think about who could be ripped away from your families. And I want you to know that a mother that was here in September with her 18-month-old child begging for compassion does not get to have her baby at her Thanksgiving dinner because you denied her right to try a medication that could have saved her child's life. Shameful. Every day that goes by, every hour that you dawdle is another hour and another day that you have failed in your duty to uphold our constitutional right to live. I say to our legislators and to law enforcement, patients are sick and tired of being treated like criminals. I say this on behalf of all of those in Pennsylvania and all Americans across the United States who are suffering with illness and the subsequent financial hardship. The American people are sick and tired of being sick and tired. Our fight is not over until we have full legal access to medical cannabis and our constitutional rights have been restored. Cannabis is medicine, and cannabis has always been medicine. Thank you.
Parents like Louise and so many born here today have run out of traditional options. You truly must act now. Every day in America, 22 veterans die of their own hand from PTSD or shell shock, as we used to call it, where they get to the point in their life where they truly feel in their hearts that for themselves and their loved ones, it would be best if they were not alive. It happens every day at an alarming rate. 22 is probably a low number, considering that only 21 states report suicide by military personnel. And in some cases, even after their loved ones have passed, families are receiving mail long after they are gone. Recently, Mike Whiter protested at a veterans parade to raise awareness that cannabis is medicine and it can be used to treat PTSD and get our veterans back into society. This mom has a story to tell you about what happens when safe access to safe cannabis is not available. Let me introduce to you Ms. Dawn Marie Friedman.
I thought I was doing okay until Ms. Sherman reminded me that my son won't be here for the second Thanksgiving meal. Imagine having a son that is so tormented he barely leaves his room for an entire year. He changes his phone number so no one can contact him, and he abandons lifelong friends, even his Marine battle buddies. Imagine having a daughter in her senior year of college who comes home every single weekend because she feels if she doesn't, it will be the weekend that her brother ends his life. Imagine having to lie in bed with your son and talk to him at night until he falls asleep. Every night. Because you feel that if you do, maybe, just maybe, he will still be alive in the morning. Now imagine having to break the law for your son to obtain an illegal plant that is the only thing that has helped him get out of bed in the morning, stimulate his appetite, and alleviate his pain. Cannabis was the safer choice of medicine for my son than the harmful pharmaceuticals he was legally prescribed. My beloved son, Corporal Dane Friedman, ended his life on December 13, 2013, after a 2-year battle with post-traumatic stress and severe depression. Not only was he my son, but a brother, a cousin, a friend, a veteran, and a hero. After serving 2 tours of duty, one in Iraq and one in Afghanistan, Dane came home only to discover what many other veterans do upon returning. You can leave the war, but you are still fighting the battle. The expectations that our society places on our veterans is appalling, assuming the transition from the battlefield into society can and should happen overnight. His long-fought battle with the VA began in 2012 and included a total of 3 inpatient psychiatric stays at the Lebanon VA Medical Center. Their idea of helping him was throwing a deadly concoction of pharmaceuticals and telling him to hope for the best. While he waited another 6 weeks for a 45-minute appointment that was many times canceled on him. The VA did not agree and even discouraged the use of marijuana to treat Dane's symptoms of PTSD. They placed him in a 21-day dependence program and even canceled a major shoulder surgery, a reconstructive surgery, 2 days before it was scheduled to be performed because of a failed drug test. This surgery was something that was going to help alleviate an immense amount of pain, both physical and mental, for Dane, and it was canceled due to ingesting a safer, less addictive medicine. Patients need to stop being punished. Unfortunately, following the death, we learned that over-medication was the case of a lot of fellow veterans. Klonopin, Wellbutrin, Seroquel, lithium, Prozac, Coumadin, Zoloft, Xanax, Meloxicam, Flexeril, and 1,800 milligrams of ibuprofen were just a few of the highly addictive medications that they prescribed to my son on a daily basis. What do a lot of these medications have in common? Some of the main side effects include suicidal ideations and tendencies. Is this truly the method our VA continues to use to medicate our veterans? My son was even on a suicide watch list. At the height of his illness, Dane was prescribed 21 pills per day. All this medication did for him was turn him into a zombie, cause him to lose 30 pounds, all while he quickly formed a dependence on them. We would continue to receive drugs in the mail for 2 to 3 months after he was taken off one. They really did hand them out like candy. Dane was physically unable to eat. The only time he had an appetite was after smoking cannabis. He was 5'9" and went down to 130 pounds. He would tell me, "Mom, my brain is so scrambled and smoking it calms it down and makes me be able to think. I can focus and I can actually have some type of an appetite." The current method of the VA is using to treat our veterans is something I call medicate to eliminate. It is time for Pennsylvania's lawmakers to put politics and old propaganda lies aside about